We've all heard that if you sing to your plants, they'll grow better, but is that true? Or is it just the kind of feel-good myth we want to believe? Well, let's find out on this week's episode of The Internet Says It's True. That's right, we're back. Welcome to The Internet Says It's True. On this show, every week we learn something that sounds like I just made it up. But everything you learn on this show, 100% verifiably true, part of the WCBE podcast experience. My name is Michael Kent. This is episode 248. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. Later on in the episode, we'll be joined by the guys behind the popular MythBusters podcast called Try This at Home, Cliff and Harrison. Stay tuned for that because we're going to not only quiz them on plant stuff, but on how closely they watched the MythBusters episode about this very topic. I hope you enjoyed last week's story about baseball schedules. I found it interesting, and Paige Thompson was a terrific guest. If you haven't reviewed the podcast yet, please give that a shot. I've put all the links in the show notes to do reviews and ratings, and reviews are a great way to say that you appreciate the show without spending a single penny. So today, we're talking about horticulture, botany, phytology, plants. We're talking about plants. Let's get on with it.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
Let's start not with a sunflower or tomato plant, but with a human being. In 1962, a man named Cleve Baxter hooked up a polygraph machine to a houseplant. Baxter was not a botanist, he was a polygraph specialist for the CIA. One day, for reasons not entirely clear, he decided to attach the electrodes of the lie detector to the leaf of his Dracaena plant. He then watered the plant and watched the needle on the polygraph graph paper. To his surprise, the pen jumped. And this was surprising. This wasn't the expected resistance of an inanimate object. Baxter interpreted it as emotion. In fact, he claimed the plant was reacting to his thoughts. When he thought about burning the leaf with a match, the pen spiked dramatically. Now that sounds like something out of a science fiction novel, and in a way it was. Baxter's experiments were never peer-reviewed or replicated successfully under controlled conditions, and they became the basis for a pseudoscientific movement. It was seized on by believers in what would come to be known as the Baxter effect, the idea that plants can read our minds and react to our emotions. It's tempting to dismiss this as 1960s hippie nonsense, and to be clear, it absolutely doesn't hold up to scientific scrutiny, but it did plant a seed, pun intended. Since then, people have believed that plants are more aware than we give them credit for, and one of the most persistent offshoots of that idea is this: if you sing to your plants, they will grow better. And it sounds cute, right? Maybe it feels a little whimsical, a little Disney princess-esque, like if you croon your worries to your plants, it'll reward you with an extra inch of growth, and who doesn't want their ferns to feel loved? But the question remains, is there any truth to it? Well, let's explore both sides. There's a common misconception that plants have ears, or that they can hear in the way animals do. They don't have brains, they don't have nervous systems, so they certainly don't hear in the traditional sense. But sound is, at its core, vibration. And vibration, it turns out, can have an effect on plant life. In 2003, a team of researchers at the National Institute of Agricultural Biotechnology in South Korea tested the effects of sound on rice plants. They played classical music as well as traditional Korean music and frequencies in the 125 Hz to 250 Hz range, and observed how the plants responded. They found that the sound waves actually activated certain genes in the plants, the same genes involved in their response to light. In other words, the plants weren't listening, but they were responding physically to the vibration of the sound waves. In fact, the researchers were able to identify specific genes, like RBCS and ALD, that were activated under sound stimulation. The vibrations, in essence, were triggering a mild stress response in the plants, which caused them to bolster certain growth functions. This phenomenon is called mechanotransduction, the process by which cells convert mechanical stimuli into chemical activity. It's the same basic idea as how our muscles grow after physical stress. In plants, mechanotransduction is mostly commonly associated with things like touch, wind, and even rain, but it turns out that sound waves, being physical vibrations, fall into that same category. So, does that mean singing to your plants really does help them grow? Well, maybe, but not necessarily because of your incredible rendition of Adele. It's more about the vibration itself than the content of the sound. You could be humming, playing a trumpet, or yelling about the IRS, and your plants might still respond. And this is where things start to get a little muddy, because people hear that and make some wild logical leaps. Take Dorothy Redelac, for instance. In 1973, she published a book called The Sound of Music and Plants. Redelac, a study at the Colorado Women's College, conducted a small-scale study in which she exposed plants to different types of music, and according to her book, plants exposed to classical and jazz music flourished, while those exposed to rock or heavy metal wilted and even tried to, quote-unquote, escape the speakers. It's an evocative image, but the study lacked rigorous controls. It wasn't peer-reviewed, and more importantly, subsequent attempts to replicate her findings have all failed. Scientists like Dr. Daniel Shamovitz, author of What a Plant Knows and a president of Ben-Gurion University in Israel, have pointed out that plants can respond to mechanical stimulation like sound waves. But the idea that they prefer Chopin to Megadeth is probably just human projection. We love classical music, so we assume our begonias do too. So what happens when you try to test this in a controlled scientific setting? This is where we talk about the show MythBusters.
For the rest, 4 weeks of constant rotation CDs and cajoling to test if plants grow better if they're talked to.
Needed to grow real big. We got the state fair coming up in about a month.
In a 2004 episode, Adam Savage and Jamie Heineman set up an experiment using 60 pea plants. They divided the plants into 6 greenhouses and subjected each group to a different sound treatment: silence, loving human praise, harsh insults, classical music, heavy metal, and recordings of people talking nicely. The results were that the plants exposed to any kind of sound, including harsh insults and metal music, grew better than those in silence. The best growth, surprisingly, came from the heavy metal greenhouse, but here's the important bit. They controlled for things like soil, water, and light. The only difference was the audio. So it wasn't what you say, it wasn't your emotional connection to the plant, it was the presence of sound itself, vibration again. The plants in silence did worse, which suggests that yes, you can play a role in plant growth, but not because your ficus likes being serenaded with show tunes. It's about the physical effect of sound waves on plant cells. I want to take a quick break here, but when we come back, we'll get into what modern botanists actually know about how plants respond to sound and how that connects to plants' surprising ability to sense the world around them. Plus, a wild tangent about Prince Charles talking to his flowers. Stick around. What if your kid could open a box and step into another century? With History Unboxed, they can. Each month, a new time-traveling adventure arrives at your doorstep, packed with hands-on projects, stories, recipes, and learning has never been more fun. No screens, no boring textbooks, just immersive, age-appropriate fun that makes history stick. Whether they're mummifying an apple like an Egyptian, or crafting medieval armor, or exploring the music of the Harlem Renaissance, they're not just learning about history, they're living it. Used by families, homeschoolers, and educators across the country, History Unboxed makes the past come alive with every box. I think it's amazing that I'm personally in my 40s and I'm still learning history every week. I wasn't interested in history as a kid, and I think that's because I didn't have something that made it fun. Things have changed since then. History Unboxed makes learning history engaging, fun, and hands-on in the comfort of your own home. So if your child loves to ask why and what was it like, this is the perfect way to fuel that curiosity. Ready to time travel? Sign up today by clicking the deals link in the show notes. There was a time that humans used 100% organic products as healing balms and moisturizers for their skin. Well, I've partnered with an awesome company that wants to get back to those times. Fatco sells organic and responsibly made tallow-based skincare products. For centuries, humans used tallow in skin moisturizers and healing balms, but unfortunately, the topical application of these fats seemed to stop around the same time that animal fats stopped being considered part of a healthy diet. A lot of modern skincare products do more harm than good by stripping your skin of its natural oils. Let's change that. You can try them out now at fatco.com and get 15% off your order by using my promo code INTERNET. Go to theinternetsaysitstrue.com/deals for the link. If you love listening to this podcast every week and you want to show your support, that would mean a great deal to me. You can do that by becoming a Patreon member. We've got members at all levels, whether you want to pledge $1 a month or $10 a month. Just think about the value that you receive from this show. And if you like the histories and the stories that you learn about or the jokes that you hear, and if you think that they're worth it, consider signing up. For that, you get every episode ad-free and a week early, access to bonuses like the unedited videos of the guest appearances, and 20% off all merchandise. You can sign up today at patreon.com/Michael Kent. That's patreon.com/Michael Kent.
Hey, I'm Cliff Bumgardner.
And I'm Harrison Stewart.
If you're like us, you probably grew up watching the Discovery Channel classic, MythBusters.
From rocket cars to chicken cannons, MythBusters proved there's no question too big, too small, or too ridiculous to put to the test.
Now we're going back to rewatch the show from episode 1, and we want you to follow along. Join us as we revisit every single myth, moment, experiment, and explosion from throughout the show's legendary 14 seasons. Subscribe now so you don't miss one.
We're going to zoom out a bit now, because even though we've talked about how vibration affects plants at the cellular level, it leads us to a broader, mind-blowing question. How much do plants sense in the world around them? In recent years, botanists have been gathering more and more evidence that plants aren't just passive green decorations. They respond to touch, they communicate with each other using chemical signals, they send distress signals when they're injured, and here's the kicker, some plants may even respond to the sound of a predator. A 2014 study out of the University of Missouri found that when researchers played the sound of a caterpillar chewing to a thale cress plant, which is Arabidopsis thaliana, not a botanist, the plants responded by producing more defensive chemicals, glucosinolates and anthocyanins. When the researchers played similar sounds like wind or other vibrations, the plants didn't respond. It was specifically the chewing sound. Somehow the plant was able to differentiate between types of vibrations and react accordingly. It's wild. It's almost like plants have a primitive form of hearing, not with ears, but with vibration-sensitive cells. Dr. Heidi Appel, one of the authors of the study, said plants have many of the same responses to environmental cues that animals do, but without ears, eyes, or a nervous system. So does that mean they can enjoy your singing? Probably not. But they might react to it in some way. Maybe your lullaby hits just the right frequency to trigger a stress response that causes the plant to bolster its defenses. That might result in increased growth or stronger stems. Or maybe you're just shaking the air in a way that mimics wind, causing the plant to respond with sturdier development. And there's also the human factor. Some scientists have speculated that people who talk or sing to their plants may be more likely to care for them in general, watering them consistently, checking for disease, rotating them for even sun exposure. In other words, the talking itself isn't helping the plant, but the attention is. It's the old correlation-causation fallacy. As for famous advocates of plant chatting, you may have heard that King Charles, back when he was just Prince Charles, famously admitting to talking to his plants, and that they do respond. In a 1986 interview, he said, quote, "I just come and talk to the plants, really. Very important to talk to them. They respond," end quote. And he was widely mocked for it, but the statement sparked a surge of public interest in the idea, and honestly, even if it's not scientific, talking to your plants probably doesn't hurt. In fact, some horticulturists even recommend playing music or adding ambient noise in greenhouses, not for the emotional benefit of the plants, but to simulate wind and vibration, which helps them grow sturdier. One study in ultrasound in medicine and biology even suggested that ultrasound frequencies could stimulate seed germination and enzyme activity in soybeans. Still, a word of caution, not all sound is good. Excessive noise can cause damage to plant cells, especially very high or very low frequencies. Just like too much wind or shaking, it can stress the plant beyond helpful levels. So, maybe don't blast five-finger death punch 24/7. In the end, what we know is this: sound affects plants. Not because they like your voice, not because they're listening, but because sound is physical, and plants are very, very sensitive to the physical world. So does singing to your plants help them grow? The internet says it's true. But it's probably not your singing that's doing the trick. It's the sound itself. It's time for Yap Yap with me and a friend. We got a bonus friend today. We got two friends. Today I'm talking with Cliff and Harrison from the Try This at Home MythBusters Listen Along podcast. You've heard ads for their podcast on this show, and this is their second appearance here. Try This at Home is a MythBusters Listen Along podcast, a rewatch podcast, where they go through every single episode of the popular show MythBusters. They break down the myth. They even talk to people from the show. It is great to have you guys back. What's up?
Thanks so much, man. Great to be here. Thanks for having us back on.
So good.
Yeah.
So good to get our double appearance.
Double billing. I'm noticing that your screen name on Zoom, Harrison, is Bibley Johnson. What is that all about?
Yeah. Nothing. Nothing whatsoever. I wish
sounds-
there were a story or anything behind it, but it is just what came to mind.
It's incredibly nefarious looking.
When we record our
Thank
podcast
you.
now, because of a running joke on our show, Harrison's name is literally just a guy, which he doesn't actually know this until I'm revealing right now. The way we record, that gets embedded in every single file that I have on the show, which has really made finding things quite difficult. But this is an ongoing thing with Harrison and strange recording names. So welcome to the party.
All right. I need a better name for
Nothing could be easy.
No, of course not. Of course not. Yeah, one of the things that I'm learning as I'm going through this podcast and I'm doing, we're racking up episodes. This is episode 248, and I need a better filing system. Everything's numbered, but at a certain point, and then there's rewind episodes sometimes when I do like a rerun, and at some point I'm gonna have to make a spreadsheet, and so we're at that level, I think.
But you were like 248. That's a big anniversary. I gotta bring in the big guns.
Yeah, wait for Excel exists at 250 maybe. So, well, before we get into this, do you guys have like a true fact that you think maybe there's little chance I've heard before?
Ooh, I've
Cliff,
got one, Harrison.
You go first.
All right, I'll go first. So I am from North Carolina. That is where I live. And Michael, I know you spend a good amount of time in North Carolina as well. We're fans. So I wanted to pull a North Carolina fact, and I wanted to pull one that I did not know. So I started doing some research, which is kind of what I'm known for on our podcast, is the research arm of the show. And here's what I found. The easiest way, if you're in the United States, the easiest way to visit the United Kingdom is actually by going to North Carolina.
Okay.
We have a piece of British land in North Carolina because in 1942, a German U-boat torpedoed a British ship called the Bedfordshire, which is the most British name I've ever heard in my life.
Very British name.
Torpedoed that ship off the coast of North Carolina near a place called Ocracoke Island, and 4 bodies washed ashore at Ocracoke Island from both the British and Canadian Royal Navies. They were then buried on land donated by locals there on Ocracoke Island, and in order to give them a proper home burial, the land was actually made permanently part of the United Kingdom.
No way.
And so to this day, there's a little piece of the United Kingdom on Ocracoke Island off the coast of North Carolina.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
How fun is that? Now I got to visit it.
Yeah.
I never knew we had an enclave.
Exactly.
I've never been to the UK, so I got to make a trip to the Outer Banks, I guess.
No.
Isn't Ocracoke Outer Banks? Isn't that what
Yeah,
that is?
Yeah, it's up there. Yeah.
There's a lovely little lighthouse on it. I'm pretty sure this could have changed because this frequently has been changing. You used to only be able to access it by ferry.
I've
but
never
there
been.
might be a bridge now.
I haven't in the Outer Banks. I've never been south of Hatteras. I don't know how much further you can go south of Hatteras at that point. Ocracoke is way down there. Yeah,
And apparently, to this day, every May, there's like a rededication where representatives of all the different navies and the U.S. Coast Guard come to this place and rededicate it in honor of those sailors who passed.
I love this.
Really cool little piece of North Carolina history I had no clue about.
That's
you
so strange.
You adore your technicalities. You did this last time with Alaska is technically the most eastern state.
Oh yeah. Do you have one, Harrison?
Yes, mine. I don't actually know when this episode airs, but I'm hoping it'll still be somewhat relevant. There's been a little chatter. I won't get into spoilers, but some people some people on the internet, the deep part of the internet, are upset that Superman would interfere in international affairs.
Okay.
However, if you read the comics, it is such a tried and true formula that it's almost trite at this point. Like if Superman interferes, it's like, yes, this has been done a billion times. But the very first time that Superman interferes and stops a war from happening is in Action Comics number 2 from
Ooh.
1938. Siegel and Schuster. Superman is finding out that there's this arms dealer who's supplying guns to both sides, and Superman flies over there. The countries are unspecified, but he takes both generals out to the desert and is like, "You're going to fight each other to decide this war, or I'm going to beat you both up." And that's how classic Superman solves
That's
problems.
amazing. I did not know that either.
Okay.
I know that there is a lot of chatter on the Twitter lately that people are disturbed to find out that Superman in this new movie is all of a sudden an immigrant.
Out
Whoa.
of nowhere.
Right?
Out
What?
of nowhere. Like, what? Since when is this a thing?
Yeah, he's always been from another planet. He's literally an alien. Literally an
That's-
alien.
That's literally everybody knows this like
This is
so well.
this is
that it's
amazing.
just-
Up next,
it
Batman's
is
an orphan.
incredible
What?
obstinance.
Yeah.
Well,
Batman
how?
should be made to come from a two-parent home and live with
That's
his
right.
parents.
They're getting way too political with
It's-
Batman by having him be an orphan. That's
It's
way
like-
too political for me.
They got mad when they chose a person of color to play Ariel, a little mermaid, and completely glossed over the fact that she's a mermaid.
It simply couldn't happen. It
yeah.
simply couldn't happen. She's underwater. It's like, okay, so right. So you're willing to entertain
Yeah.
this?
She can talk
too.
underwater.
Yeah. The half fish is not a problem.
Not a
That's not the part we're worried about. It's the other half that we're
Yeah.
really worried about.
We're
Flounder?
fine with a sea
Fine.
wish that can steal voices.
Yes, 100%.
Of course,
Oh,
course,
okay.
naturally, because she's
Well-
purple.
Let's get into the show. For the first question, my friends, we're going to play for a joke. If you get it wrong, you got to tell me a joke. If you get it right, I will tell you one.
Excellent.
And on this, so here's your question. This is episode, I believe, 32. And we've talked in the past about the episodes and seasons of MythBusters are a little wonky, so we're not sure exactly where this is. But basically, they tested the idea on this episode that plants respond to singing. Part of this test was insulting the plants. In the episode, what specific word did the recorded insults repeat over and over to the plants? Was it A, stupid, B, idiot, or C, ugly?
Ooh.
How long has it been since you guys covered this episode?
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute, yeah.
I am going to guess stupid because I can hear a very particular intonation put on it. I don't remember for sure, but I'm guessing stupid.
My prevailing memory is Carrie Byron calling the plant a freshman. That's the one that really stuck with me, which is its
what
own.
a strange insult.
It's great. It's great.
But it really bites, doesn't it?
It hits. It really
Yeah.
does hit. I'm gonna go with ugly. I think ugly might have been. I think it might have been Scotty Chapman saying ugly on her recording.
Well, you guys have the answer bracketed because it is B, idiot.
That's appropriate.
In
Given
the
our answers.
experiment,
Yeah.
the plants in the insult greenhouse were subjected to a looped recording of someone repeatedly saying idiot. And of course, despite the negativity, those plants still grew better than the ones that were in silence, supporting the idea that sound, not sentiment, was the key factor. So they could have said freshman and it would have been just the same. Yeah, that's, and this, I'm going to be honest, at this point of recording, I have not watched the episode. Everything I've pulled here was just basically the fact that they, confirmed that it was vibration, it was sound, not sentiment, not
Right.
insults or anything like that had anything to do with it. But yeah, they used the word idiot over and over and over, apparently.
I want to hear, we talked about in that episode, they actually show them recording it, and it's their location sound recordist for the show who's doing the recording, which means that on a hard drive somewhere is all the raw audio of them just yelling at plants for a while. That is the MythBusters artifact I maybe want the most, is that raw audio of them just insulting plants over and over. And there's stuff that they couldn't use, which is what I want to hear the most.
I want a channel, and maybe it's a streaming service, because we're in, the age that we're in, of cutting room floor content.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want, and if I can't have that, I want the cutting room floor content from my episode of Fool Us when I did Penn and Teller, because the B-roll that we shot to this day has never been seen, and it is got to be the best footage, because basically they had me playing beer pong with a little person dressed up like a leprechaun. This wasn't my idea. This guy does this every day. It's an Irish pub. And he is the manager, and he dresses like a leprechaun because he thinks it's fun, and he enjoys this. But I played beer pong with him, and we have video of that somewhere, and it never made the episode.
Why?
I want to see this.
Why, when they had you on the show, where they're like, "We've got Michael, I know what we're gonna do"? Why was that the B-roll?
Here was I asked the same question, and here was this is the logic. Michael performs in colleges. College people drink. We're going to a bar. What bar will have us? Irish bar. The rest of it just sort of fell into place, right? This
it's just a happy coincidence.
It was an absolutely, a happy little coincidence. Okay, that was not meant to be a little person joke, by the way.
No.
Do you guys have a joke? Either one of you? Street joke?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah.
Harrison, Bibley Johnson.
Okay, Bibley Johnson,
the comedian,
is gonna. Yeah, I wrote this one myself. Definitely didn't look it up 5 minutes beforehand. What? Why did the coffee file a police report?
Why did the coffee I don't know why.
Because it got mugged. This actually isn't a joke. This is a very serious thing. He doesn't love talking about it, but yeah, it was very violent. I wish you well. I'm more bringing it up to raise awareness.
Of my friend. We'll do a GoFundMe, I guess.
Coffee violence.
I think he has to wear coffee. Anti-coffee.
I wasn't going to ask for two jokes, but now I feel like I need to. Cliff, do you have
Cliff? No,
I do.
Raise the bar.
in honor of the show that we are obsessed with, I wanted to pull a joke that is a classic joke, but I heard it for the very first time on MythBusters when I was a kid. It's an episode where, much later in the show than we are right now, but it's where they have to drink for a myth, and they are drunk in the middle of the day filming a television show, which sounds like a lot of fun. And they do a joke. They're going back and forth, and Carrie has the classic joke, "What's red and smells like blue paint?" Red paint.
Right.
And when she says it, while completely wasted, they find it to be the funniest joke that has ever been told in the history of humankind. And when I was a kid, that was the first place I heard it. So I had to honor our show.
Can I tell you guys my favorite street joke currently? And my listeners already know this because I've been saying it as often as I can, because I just can't get enough of it. Why didn't the yellow tooth laugh at the white tooth's jokes?
Because it was dead inside.
That's right.
Did something play?
Yeah, sorry. I hit a button.
Okay, no, you're fine.
I hit a button.
And
so
the
for some
only reason
reason
why I know this
is
because I just listened to the last episode that we did.
Oh, so maybe your last episode was the first episode where I learned that joke.
I think it was
full circle. This is a full circle
full
moment.
Circle, guys.
That means I've been telling this joke for 2 years.
The joke that you preface by saying, "I've been obsessed with it recently."
I have ever since 2020. I have no concept of time. Like on a grander scale. Everything was 2 weeks ago. Oh man. Okay, for question 2, we're playing for a mention of this show on the next episode of Try This at Home. So if you get it wrong, you've got to give us a little plug. However, if you get it right, you've got to give us a little plug. Which pigment in plants is primarily responsible for capturing light energy for photosynthesis? Is it A, anthocyanin, B, chlorophyll, or C, chloroform?
Well, chloroform would be dark. I'm not going to go down that particular alley at this
B's the
moment.
only one I've heard of.
Yeah,
Well,
B.
I mean, no, I've heard of chloroform, but
But that's from your side project.
right.
We don't talk
Bibley
about
Johnson
that.
has heard
Exactly.
of chloroform.
Bibley Johnson knows all about
oh, buddy,
chloroform.
Bibley knows all about chloroform. I'm gonna say B, because I if I recall correctly, this game can be tricksy sometimes. So
The
I am
answer
going to go with the
is-
obvious answer.
The obvious answer, it is B.
Yeah,
Chlorophyll. It's the key pigment that absorbs light energy, particularly in the blue and red wavelengths, to power photosynthesis. So, yes,
Fantastic.
chlorophyll, not chloroform.
What is the first one?
Anthocyanin. So, this was something from our episode. Basically, it's a defensive chemical that the plant itself produces. And what they found was there was this study, basically in 2014, there was a study when they played the sound of a caterpillar chewing to the plant produced anthocyanins, which is a protective defensive chemical. And what they found was that there were certain sounds that they thought maybe the plants were responding to differently than other sounds, which is
I love
crazy.
that.
Yeah,
That's
crazy.
incredible.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like, that's without a brain, without ears. You know, this is literally just in that plant somewhere, coded in the mitochondria of this plant. Somehow there's something that says, hey, if we hear a predator, we have to sturdy ourselves, do something defensive. I'm not sure what anthocyanins create. Like, I don't know what that does for the plant, but
Yeah.
Sure.
that they were able to, to record that they had more of them. There was that, and the other one that I have to go back and look at it. It was glucosinolates,
Sure.
something like that, which is some sort of
I like
sugars.
that
I
last
assume.
one. Yeah.
Glucosinolate. Yeah.
Ooh.
It ends in a
Wow,
diddly-do.
you nailed it in one. There it is.
is. I didn't nail it in one when I was recording the episode. I can tell you that. The name for the plant that they tested that on was a thale cress plant. The Latin name for that is Arabidopsis thaliana. Ooh, nailed it there.
Nailed it.
Ooh.
Didn't
Sounds
get that
made
one in
up,
the
but
episode
okay.
either.
Learning.
It's really true. For question 3, we're playing for a sticker. They are 3 inches, they are square, and they are sticky. And we always play for these stickers. And the only place you can get these is by either joining the Patreon or pulling them off the light posts that I've been putting them on. For
Gotta join the
question
Patreon.
3, which one of these terms describes? You guys are both botanists, right? Before we keep
Oh,
going
Yeah,
with this?
yeah,
Okay.
train.
Oh yeah.
What term describes a plant's
Bombard.
growth in response to gravity? A, phototropism, B, gravitropism, or C, hydrotropism?
Oh, this feels like a trick.
I'm gonna go with gravitropism.
Who said it felt like a trip, Cliff? Trip?
Yeah, I said it felt like a trick.
Yeah. And Bibley in the last question said sometimes we get a little tricksy on this show.
100%.
I'm
But
not
it could
leading
be a
you in any
double. It
direction.
could be a double tricksy, which is really tripping me up.
Phototropism, gravitropism, or hydrotropism. One of these describes a plant's response to gravity.
I mean, I got to go with Gravo, but I got to go with B, but I feel like I'm being tricked.
The answer is B. Trust your gut, guys.
Hey,
Gravitropism.
all right.
Yeah, roots grow downwards and the shoots grow upwards. That's as simple as it is. I don't know what tropism means. Maybe some scientists in our midst, and maybe some of our. Well, you know what? Let's not wait for the listeners. Let's look it up. Tropism meaning involuntary orientation by an organism or one of its parts that involves turning or curving by movement. So there you go.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
See, that represents to me what is amazing about this story on the whole is like it all just sounds like it shouldn't possibly be true or happen.
Mhm.
When this first came up on our show, when the episode started, I was like, oh, this is going to be a ridiculous one. This is not going to make for a great episode at all. And then when it turns out that all of this is rooted in science, it is mind-blowing to me. This is one of the most mind-blowing things we've encountered yet on MythBusters. It's just crazy.
One of the things I found in my research was that not only, it's a thing that people want to believe because people want to be good stewards of plants when they have plants, right? Everyone wants to have a green thumb, and they want to learn everything they can do to trick their plant into living better, right? Like to not do the work, not like learn about the plant, but I'm going to sing to it, and that's caring for it, Some people do parenting this way too, but but I think like one of the things is one of the very first pieces of science that came out was sort of a not very good science piece. Yeah. And this woman concluded with her non-peer-reviewed study that stuff like jazz and classical music made the plants flourish, but rock or heavy metal made them wilt, and they tried to get away from the speakers. And it wasn't true. None of it was true. And the way that MythBusters sort of controlled for this, it was by turning the plants. And as the sun was moving, they would turn the plant. You know what I mean? So they weren't seeing the plant move away from the speakers because the sun was over there now or anything like that. So, yeah, it wasn't very good science, and it has been since disproved. But in the day when this was in the mid-'70s when it happened, people just took it as gospel. So
it just sounds like somebody who hated rock music too. Like it's just another part of that whole. We're just gonna say that not only is it bad for your children, it'll kill your plants. Yeah. Which is
this
quite
plant agrees with my worldview.
Yeah.
I like that plant.
Maybe it's not rock music that's causing school shooters. Maybe it's vibration. It's just got real dark.
Hey, it's just about the only thing we haven't looked into except the real answer. So let's give it a shot.
We're not looking at the real answer, so let's just keep going with every little thing. Blame Marilyn Manson and Barbra Streisand. Question 4. If you get this one wrong, you've got to each tell us the last thing you Googled. So you got to pull out your little search history. Tell us the last thing that you Googled in your search history. If you get it right, I will try to find mine. What specific piece of audio equipment did MythBusters use inside each greenhouse to deliver the sound stimuli? Was it A, PA horn speaker, B, a home stereo system, or C, car stereo speakers?
Ooh, I remember it as being almost like a classic 90s boombox. So I would guess that would fall into home stereo system.
Okay. Harrison?
Yeah.
You're going with it?
I think I'm going to lock that one in.
The answer, it was car stereo speakers.
Car stereo speakers. That's a very MythBusters thing, to be fair.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they each. I don't know why it was that. I mean, that may have been just what they had sitting around from a different myth, in their warehouse. But each greenhouse was equipped with car stereo speakers wired to a central system, playing loops of music, compliments, or insults. They used car speakers. Here's what it says. They used car speakers because they were compact, weather resistant, and easy to install uniformly across the greenhouses. So I don't know why those would be more than any other speakers, but maybe that's just what they had.
Harrison, we don't know a whole lot about MythBusters. I feel like we need to go back and watch every episode of the show.
Again? You said there's 600 episodes of our podcast? You're
exactly.
So right.
Yeah. We're going to go back and re-listen to our show. We're going to do a listen through of our show.
Rewatching
What's that going to be called? So your podcast is called Try This at Home. Is this going to be called Try This at Home?
Ooh, I like that.
Try this at our home?
Or we make try this at work. So when you're at work, you listen to one show. When you come home, you listen to our other show, and we got you all day.
Yeah, and
we've completely monetized your whole day.
This is good. Yeah, and the second show critiques the first show, so you have to know which one to listen to first.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
It gets very comic booky. You're like, as seen in last issue. Yeah.
It's
Like,
eventually we established that
40 seconds. We go quiet. That's because Harrison coughed.
For 3 minutes?
No, at 3 minutes.
Okay.
Harrison has horrible asthma.
Okay.
No.
Cliff, I'm super interested in your Google history.
I want to know. I want to know your Google history. So, Cliff will go first.
Yeah, mine is going to just further reinforce the idea that the only thing I do is watch MythBusters and make our podcast, because my last search is actually Chris Williams' MythBusters, which is on our episode. I'm not sure in what order all of this will drop, but in our newest episode that we just recorded, we ran into a new writer on the show who hasn't been on the show before, and we've been
Ooh.
fortunate enough to have a lot of writers from the show come on our podcast and talk about the process, and it's become a pretty fascinating part that we never really considered is how do you possibly write a show like MythBusters? So
Sure.
that's become a big kind of point for us to look into every week. And so we were talking about Chris, who started, as best we can tell, this may have been his beginnings in television, and 20 years later he's still doing it. He's written
Wow.
a lot of great shows in that kind of science reality based vein, and I was looking him up to hopefully have him on the show in the future.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How about you, Harrison?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, while Cliff was working, the last thing I Googled was joke. Not good joke. I literally just
joke.
Googled
Just joke.
Joke.
Yeah.
just joke. And in fairness, it did give me joke.
Yeah, it did. It wasn't.
I acquired joke.
You
Wasn't a
acquired
good one.
joke. You did not acquire good
But it
joke,
did
but you
technically
acquired
mean
joke. I
the classical definition.
I love that the joke I told you was the same one I told you 2 years ago. That is still just
my
killing me.
absolute favorite.
I think, guys, we're all trapped in a loop. I think this is where we live now, is in these screens, in these boxes.
So.
This is it.
This is Groundhog Day. The last thing I Googled, this is true, and this I Googled while I was recording this episode, because I was looking for like musical references. So instead of just saying, our listeners just heard this, instead of saying things like, while you're singing to your plants, I wanted to be able to say things like, while you're singing Adele to your plants. I wanted one that was heavy metal, but I don't really listen to heavy metal, and Metallica felt like, a very commercial, dumb version of heavy metal. So I was like, I've heard of this band Five Finger Death Punch. I wonder if they're heavy metal, because that sounds heavy metal. So I Googled Five Finger Death Punch, because I wanted, I didn't know.
Yeah.
What would have been what would have you used, like in that example, if you wanted a heavy metal band, as an example?
Slipknot.
Slipknot would have been a good one.
Yeah.
I see, but I feel like Slipknot is. Oh, please don't come for me. I don't want to say this. Whatever. I feel like Slipknot is the one that's considered like the dumb commercial. Like
Really?
I at least in the people that I've spoken to, there's still like a ton of respect for Metallica, especially their like early stuff,
the Black Album and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I get
What
it.
would I have said?
What's that?
No idea.
I just figured out what I should have said, but I'm gonna leave Five Finger Death Punch in the episode. It's not heavy metal, but I should have used Insane Clown Posse.
That's
that
exactly
would be so
what
good.
you should have done.
That's what
That would be so good.
You had a Juggalo reference right there.
Yeah,
and
right there, and I didn't use it. That's fine.
Just had to reach out.
I was
that's fine.
at a professional wrestling show with Violent J last year.
Really?
Yes.
Like you went with him, or you were at the same show?
I was at the same show.
Was he in makeup, or did you recognize him out of makeup?
Full clown. He was part of the show.
Okay.
He was managing some guys, but the best part of the whole night was he left with the crowd. He didn't wait like in the locker room for the show to empty out. He left at the same time, dragging a pink suitcase while in full clown, and just walked out into the streets of a city. It was the saddest, like,
I like to think that he had to leave early because he had to pick his kids up from like daycare or something. Like that's kind of in my head. Like he had to go do something very, very normal.
The memory I will always hold on to is we were walking we were probably 20 feet away from him because we were all walking out at the same time. And he gets outside and he just looks around. We're in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He looks around downtown and just goes, ugh. The bar is closed, and then wanders off into. It was the most, but Doctor, I am the clown kind of thing I've ever seen in my life. It was a beautiful moment.
I have been trying to, first of all, bonus points for a Pagliacci reference, but I have been trying to find a way to fit the Doctor, I am the clown reference. Like, I want to do an episode about Pagliacci and about that story.
Oh yeah.
If you're not familiar with it, guy goes into the doctor. and said, doctor, I'm very sad. I cry every day. I can't find joy in life. The things that used to bring me joy, I just walk through and don't really feel like I'm experiencing them. And the doctor said, I have the perfect solution to you. The circus is in town, and this hilarious clown is there. His name is Pagliacci. You need to go see him. He will cheer you up. And the doctor said, but sir, I am Pagliacci. And that, as an entertainer, that's one of those, and every entertainer I know loves this story for this very reason. We all have that moment where we're like, oh, that's me, You guys are batting 500 on this podcast. And so for question 5, it's the tiebreaker. If you get it wrong, you're banned from the show forever. If you get it right, I would love to have you back. Here is your question. And I'd like, we're running out of time on my free Zoom account. So I'd like an answer from each one of you separately for this one. If you had to sing one song to a living thing every day for a week to try to improve its life, what would you sing and why?
Oh, wow. My
To
first...
keep it alive?
To keep it alive, to improve its life.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
To improve its life. I feel like I have been really obsessed for months now with this band called Ripe. And they are a modern funk and brass band that is just like what life sounds like through instruments. They are just wonderful and happy and inspirational and not the kind of thing I typically listen to. So as if someone is watching the video, you can tell by the Stephen King books behind me, that's not my usual fare, but it's been nice. So I would say their song Goon Squad, which is stuck in my head all the time and is a great listen to make your day better.
First of all, that's the right answer. And I hope that they somehow hear you describe their music as what life sounds like through instruments, because that's a really cool way of describing music.
They're awesome. I hope they do.
They're would awesome. Love to hear you say that. What about you, Harrison?
I don't like you. I'm supposed to follow that.
Yeah.
Anything that I say is going to be weak and toothless.
But it's your life, man. You can sing one song it can be a plant or it can be a person, it can be a dog. I
would sing Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Because
I'm
usually singing it anyway.
Wonderful song. I'd probably sing some Bob Dylan because that's like literally all I've been listening to lately.
Which one?
Okay,
what's stuck in your head right now?
Love -0.
Fantastic.
Good. So
good.
I have long claimed that Visions of Johanna was my favorite Bob Dylan song from Blonde on Blonde. But lately, Love -0 has been really getting stuck in my head, and I don't know. It might be changing. That might be my new favorite song. I don't know the words to Love -0 like I do with Visions, but I got to see Dylan live 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
where?
Yeah. So he's currently touring with Willie Nelson for the Outlaw Music Festival. So I got to see Willie at 92 and Dylan at 84. Incredible show. They both played for each one played for over an hour. I am much more familiar with Bob Dylan's catalog than Willie Nelson's. I only knew 2 of the Bob Dylan songs, maybe 3. Willie, I knew all of them. He played all the hits. So that's just kind of how those two guys perform live,
No, Bob is like, I'm going to do the show I want to do because you're here to see me, so I get to dictate that. It's like, you know what? That's so fine. You do that.
He played a cut down version of Desolation Row that was still 11 minutes.
Yep.
Oh, wow. It just occurred to me, and it's been a while, so I don't have perfect recall of this. I'm pretty sure the last time you had us on, you asked a music question, and your answer was Bob Dylan back then, too.
No way. I got to go back and listen to that.
I think we were in a perfect loop, guys.
What is the episode about? What was it? What was...
Lucille Ball and the radio
the fillings. The Lucille Ball. Okay, I'm going to go back and listen. You guys can go listen with me and see if I asked a music question. It would make sense that we were talking about music because we were talking about radio and whatnot. It was probably, if you had one song playing through your fillings all the time, what was it?
I bet
that's what I asked. Oh my God, that's amazing. Full circle moment. You guys, it has been awesome having you back on the show again. Please go subscribe to the Try This at Home podcast. When you type in Try This at Home, type in also MythBusters, because there are a few older shows that people haven't kept up with that similar names to that. But it's a listen along podcast. And even if you if it's been a while since you've watched the show MythBusters, this gives you a great excuse to pick it back up and rewatch some of those old episodes, and they really dig into to what they do. Not only that, they have had people from the show on, including Adam Savage has been a guest on your show. Probably not Jamie.
Not yet. That is our white whale.
The
We're
white
working
whale.
on it.
That one's gonna be tough to do. So awesome. Well, yeah, and
That
we gotta
book ends well for the captain, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Wait,
good.
What'd you say?
Yeah, he's our white whale.
Yeah, I don't know. Moby Dick was probably 7th grade, 8th grade. It's been a while.
They should not try to teach that to middle schoolers.
That was
Are they
that was
insane?
what, the white whale. The reference is Moby Dick, right? All right.
Yeah,
It
we're
is
less
Moby
than a
Dick.
minute.
It's just massive. Well, okay, yep.
We gotta
wrap
go
it
on
up.
my
Bring us
free
back.
Zoom account. Go listen to Try This at Home. Thanks again, guys. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Michael.
That's our show for today. Thanks to Cliff and Harrison from the Try This at Home podcast for being my guest, and thanks to you for listening. Here's the voice of a plant talking back to us.
Thank you for listening to The Internet Says It's True. To listen to episodes ad-free and a week early, support us on Patreon. You can do that at patreon.com/Michael Kent. If you learned something just now that you didn't already know, go to the Apple Podcast app and leave us a review with 5 stars and a few words. That helps us a ton, because that's how the algorithm works. I don't know what an algorithm is, but just do it! See you next week for a brand new episode of The Internet Says It's True!
The Internet Says It's True would like to thank the Patreon subscribers whose monthly contributions help to make this show possible. Sean Brown, Joshua Endress, Dallas Ray, Bryce Swanson, Eugene Anderson, Jim and Joanne Martin, Mitch and Andrew Joseph Kemplin, and the show's official Emperor, Kick Track. The show is written and produced by me, Michael Kent. The theme song is by Finite Music Forge, and all audio clips in this episode are used for education and commentary and used under Fair Use Title 17 USC Section 107. You can listen to past episodes by searching for The Internet Says It's True wherever you get your podcasts, and you can see bonus content at patreon.com/Michael Kent.